Hello, fellow travelers. Trey with Trey Tracy Travel here, and I am joined today with my friend Skyler Mason of SKYIN, and I am excited to introduce you to the SKYIN brand. I recently just got off a 8-day Kenyan safari with Skyler and his team. First time we ever going on a safari, first time going to Africa, and it was an amazing adventure. So I wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit about Skyler, about his team, about his brand, why he loves Africa so much, and hopefully answer some questions for you if you are contemplating about going to Africa on a safari. So Skyler, welcome.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you so much for having me. And hi, everyone. And can't wait to share more about my love and passion for Kenya, and hopefully one day getting everybody down to experience my world down there as well.
Well, that's cool. Well, first of all, you don't sound African or Kenyan. So tell us a little bit about you and where you're located.
Yeah, so great question, Trey. I'm currently based here at our U.S. office here in Denver, Colorado. And yes, I am not African. I was not born in Kenya. I am not a legal citizen of Kenya, but I've been going to Kenya since I was a really, really young boy. Now, a common question people ask is, okay, what brought you to Kenya in the first place? What came all about this? Ever since I was 2 years old, and to this day, my parents still have no idea where this came from because they've never been to Africa before. They had no ties, no connections. They weren't missionaries. They said my passion, my connection, my fascination since I was a toddler was all revolved around Africa. And most kids here in the U.S., they want to go to Disney World. They want to get toys for their birthday. My dream was to immerse myself into Africa since I was a toddler. I still have family friends that are my parents' age that come over, and they remind me of these stories when they used to come when I was a really, really young boy as a toddler. And they used to come in the house. They used to see me running around the house, drumming, dancing, singing, dreaming as if I was a part of a tribe. Well, long story short is when I was 14 years old, I had a host family that brought me to Kenya in the first place. And the mother that brought me in, this is Mama Joy. I know Trey got to meet her as well. She is my second mother. I always tell people she's dear to my heart, and I have two mothers. I'm very grateful to have two mothers in my life. But as you guys can imagine, going to a world so different than our own, but staying with local families, immersing myself into the local communities and the surrounding villages, traveling across Kenya with the local guidance by my side every step of the way, I was truly able to get an experience unlike any tourist could ever imagine. And that first time I touched down in Kenya, I felt like I was home. I felt like this is where I needed to be. So as I was growing up, I would study here in the States, but during my holiday season, I would travel back to Kenya, spending months each year building such extensive relationships across the country. And this is what all sparked my mission, my vision to wanting to create a business one day that supported local communities, villages, community members that I truly call family and call home today. And I'm very blessed, Trey, that last month I was able to have the opportunity to really introduce you not just to my Kenyan mother, but also to a very indigenous tribe that I happened to grow up with. So SKYIN all came about from, again, as I was a toddler, just having the passion, the dream of wanting to immerse myself into Africa, having that opportunity to come out there at such a young age. And now my passion, my dream became a reality, and I turned it into a business where I get to share my passion, get to share my life-changing experiences with other travelers across this world, but doing it in a way that supports local communities, local villagers by providing ongoing jobs, empowering them, providing opportunities and resources, and doing it in a sustainable way that I like to say I get to make a difference in both sides, from the clients as the travelers, as well as the communities that I truly call home and family.
Well, cool. Thank you for it. And I'm glad you mentioned the village because we're going to talk on that here shortly. But all right, so we see the colorful logo, and it was no secret when I was on the trip that was probably one of the most recognized logos of any safari company out there. And in case you can't read it, it does say SKYIN. But tell us, where did the name SKYIN? Because when I first met you, I thought, well, maybe it was part of your name, Skyler.
Yeah, great question. So SKYIN, Skyler, there is some resemblance, but actually SKYIN, there's a whole definition. SKYIN, how we use it, is a verb, to sky in. Just like, for an example, if you were to say to dive in. For an example, if you were to dive into a pool, you're breaking the water barrier and you're diving deep under. When you sky into Africa, into Kenya. You are breaking the conventional surface of a typical tourist, and you're skying deep into the foundation of what makes Kenya and Africa so spectacular and such a magical destination. Its culture, its wildlife, its beaches, but to me, most importantly, it's its people and its hospitality.
Okay, well, that's a good point. And as you said, skying in, diving in, it's from the moment my feet hit the ground there in Nairobi to the time I left, we were certainly immersed into the Kenyan culture, the African culture, and again, it was amazing. And I'll share a little more here at the end about that. But all right, so let's talk about Kenya specifically as a destination. So for someone who has never been on a safari, why do you think Kenya is that right place for their first experience?
Great question, Trey. And Kenya is one of the top rated safari destinations of all of Africa, especially for first timers going to Africa. And a lot of reasons come into play. Firstly, Kenya is an English speaking country. They were colonized by the British. So everywhere you go, people speak English in the cities and the towns. Signs are all in English. Yes, when you go deep into the villages, their English is very, very small and broken. But we, of course, have English translators. So that is one common thing that people like, is that they can speak their English throughout the country. Two is that Kenya is a very safe country. It's level 2 on the travel advisory board. So that's the same equivalent to the UK, to Italy, to Germany. They do such wonders to make sure that this country remains safe and is always suitable to bring lots and lots of tourism. And then another reason why I love Kenya is because you can go to a destination where you can get absolutely a variety of different experiences all in one country. And what I mean by that is, firstly, we all know Kenya is known for its wildlife. I mean, who's never heard of the Lion King? Everybody's heard of the Lion King. Well, people don't realize that Lion King is actually based off of being in Kenya. Hakuna Matata. That's a Swahili phrase. Swahili is the language they speak in Kenya for no worries. And journey means safari means journey in Swahili. The name Simba means lion in Swahili. So a lot of people have some ties to Kenya before they even know it. But what I love about it is that you can have the majestic wildlife. Plus, on top of that, you get the indigenous culture, and then you have the exotic beaches. You can have all that within one country without having to go through different immigrations, different customs, different logistics and operations. You can get all these variety of different experiences within one country. Also, Kenya has the most national parks out of any country in all of Africa. And Kenya is actually the only, Nairobi, the capital city, is the only city in Africa that has a national park residing on the outskirts of the city. So even if you guys are coming to Kenya on, let's say, a corporate trip, you're there for 3 days, you have 1 day to spare, you can still go on a wonderful safari by visiting Nairobi National Park. So to me, Kenya is a very safe country. It's English speaking. They do accept the US dollars in Kenya as well. And most importantly, aside from all that, it's the people. The people is what truly transform you. And that's one thing that everybody goes for the wildlife. When they come back, they say it's the people and the hospitality that captures their heart.
And I would agree with that. One things that I have shared with others since I came back is, even though we were on what was called a familiarization trip, and for those who may not understand what that is, it's when travel advisors get invited by a resort or a company to come and tour their brand or their product or their property so we can see it. And oftentimes it is at a discounted price or whatever because the company's trying to get us there. But we are immersed just like a typical client would be, although we're probably at a much more rushed itinerary than a client certainly would be. But one things that I have shared with people since I came back was, even though we were on that fam trip, there was nothing put on just for the sake because we were travel advisors and you're trying to convince us to come. I mean, we felt it just like a client would feel it. We felt the genuineness of the hospitality and just the raw power of seeing those animals up close. I mean, from your team that's on the ground that treated us, and I know they didn't treat us any different than they would treat a client. And so, I mean, it was a great feeling. So hospitality is top of the list there in Kenya for sure. Now, obviously, Kenya is one of 2 countries that's pretty much part of that Great Migration.
Correct.
So can you tell us, if somebody is interested, well, first of all, I guess really tell people what the Great Migration is, because when I was telling people about the Great Migration, they were all thinking Tanzania. and they don't
Yep.
realize it does spill over into Kenya. But tell us real briefly what the Great Migration is, and for somebody who wants to really experience it, when should they expect it to come for that?
Absolutely. So when you mean by the Great Migration, Trey, you're referring to the Great Wildebeest Migration. This is when millions of wildebeest and zebras cross over from the Serengeti on the Tanzania side over into the Maasai Mara on the Kenya side. This is considered one of the seventh wonders of the world. So it's a spectacular experience. What a big attraction is that people like to, especially when they're in Kenya, and the Serengeti and the Maasai Mara are within the same ecosystem. The only thing that divides them up is the borders of the countries, right? And so what a lot of people like to do is when they go and to see the Great Wildebeest Migration, the best viewing point is actually from the Kenya side, and they sit along the Mara River banks, and the vehicles line up and they watch as hundreds, thousands, millions of wildebeest are crossing over the Mara River. And as you guys can imagine, it is such a spectacular experience because lots of predators are standing by right on the river's edge. Mainly crocodiles, you see lions, and of course it's the circle of life by all means, but it's a really cool experience when you hear thundering of hooves and you see the water splashing everywhere and just large herds of wildebeest zebras crossing over. It's an incredible experience. It is seen through the months of July all the way through typically the end of August or early into September. So that is an attraction for you, and you guys are a big animal enthusiast. You would want to go through July all the way through end of August, early September to give you the best chances to spot the Great Wildebeest Migration. So it's a spectacular wonder, and especially, I know, Trey, you were able to experience this not during the Great Wildebeest Migration, but when you do a sunrise hot air balloon safari, you're gliding over the savannas and you can see the entire migration right in front of you. Oh my God, that is such a world worth seeing for sure.
I can only imagine the awe, just awesome of it and such. And so obviously you said July to September, and I think it's important for clients to understand, or people watching this video to understand, that even not with just the Great Migration, but really for most parts of planning, this isn't something you can plan last minute.
No.
You really need to plan months in advance, and in something like this, probably almost even a year out. Off season could get a little bit closer to time. But let's talk about two aspects of planning for this safari. When is the best time for someone who's it's really their first time, that really not interested in the Great Migration? When would you recommend that they come to Kenya?
So, and to tie it back on planning an excursion, a journey to Kenya, yes, you need to have lots of time for planning. And we always say the sweet spot is anywhere from 6 months to 18 months. The more time you give, the better it is, because that allows us to be able to lock down availability. As you guys can imagine, we are working with lots of different lodges and camps inside the national parks and reserves. Some are bigger, some are a lot more smaller and boutique. Those people that want a more intimate, private experience, are looking for more smaller luxury properties. Of course, availability is very limited if you book so soon. So the further out you can book, the better options we have to be able to work with your set dates. Now, when it comes to the best time of the year to travel to Kenya, there's a lot of different answers to that. And the reason I say that is, firstly, here's Kenya, here's the equator. The equator literally goes right in the middle of Kenya. So they don't have drastic seasons like you have here in Denver, Colorado, where it snows in the winter and you're hitting the lake and hiking in the summertime. You do have similar climates throughout the year. Of course, most of the time you will be below the equator, so you do typically see that the hotter months are in like late December, January, February, and the colder months are going to be in July, August, for example. Now, of course, if you want to go to the Great Wildebeest Migration, July through August, that is time to go there. It's a great also time because it's the drier season. It is also the more milder, colder season. When I say colder, you're not going to need a snow jacket. You're not going to need a beanie. You're going to need a sweatshirt, maybe some long pants in the early mornings, late evenings. But of course, as the day goes on, you're going to want to unlayer that for sure. But it is the drier season. It is more crowded. It is considered high season, and it's more expensive. A big attraction, of course, is that a lot of families, kids are off of school during that time, and the Great Wildebeest Migration. Now, I preferably, and I'm probably one of the only suppliers out there, I actually like to go and advocate for the lower seasons. And the reason for that, that's either March through May or usually towards the end, late October into early December. That affords, firstly, less crowds. When you're on safari and you see a pride of lions, it's not always the best experience when you see 40 vehicles around that pride of lions all trying to capture that moment, right? When you go in the lower season, you might see a handful of cars the entire time. So that is one big attraction why I like to go in the lower seasons. I also love the fact that it's a lot cheaper. It's more affordable. You go in a lower season or shoulder season compared to the higher season, you could be looking at hundreds to even thousands, depending on the length of trip and the package you're on, of course, of a price difference. Look at the same itinerary, same properties, but a huge difference in pricing just because it's a different season. It also tends, the lower season, for example, April and May, one of my favorite times, that's when you got to go down there. It's considered the rainy season. But what's really cool is that the rains are not long-lasting rains all day, every day. It's more scattered storms. So usually in the late afternoon, early evenings, and into the evening, that's when you tend to see the rain. So that by the time you wake up, the rain is gone. The rain usually is gone and clear throughout the day. And that means it's a lot greener, a lot more vegetation. A lot of babies are being born in the wildlife more in the beginning of the year, January, February time. So when you go in the lower seasons, you tend to see like the toddler season, where it's a lot, the young little babies are getting a little bit bigger, but it's like the toddlers. So it's really cool to see the youth and the young of the wildlife. And then again, most importantly to me, tying back into it, it's the crowds. When you can go to these properties, when they're in high season, 80 to 100% capacity. When lower season, 20 to 40% capacity. You have a more intimate experience. Availability is is there. Pricing is a lot more affordable. And again, it affords a really incredible experience when you're not having to deal with the large crowds.
Well, and you hit on a good point about not having the crowds, because like you said, with us being there in low season, there was times I felt like we were the only vehicle in those parks.
Yeah.
And, obviously Maasai Mara is the real famous one. So but even then it wasn't maybe 7 or 8 other vehicles. So it just was not super crowded. And like you said, if you're all trying to surround that lion that's sitting there eating its fresh kill, and you got 40 vehicles around you, it really takes away from it. And when there's only a few, it really kind of get more immersed into that experience. And I laugh when you said you don't need a ski coat or anything. Coming from Mississippi, temperature was like home over there. So I really didn't need a coat, but I had to laugh because even on those cool mornings, the Kenyan people are not used to that cold. Their blood's not used to it. And to see them in sweaters and all bundled up like they're in a ski jacket, and I'm sitting there in shorts and a t-shirt just fine. So I thought that was kind of funny. But all right, let me ask the question that nobody likes to ask. Clients don't like to talk about it. Travel advisors don't like to ask the question, and that's budget. So, honestly, when I talk to clients, people just don't really have an expectation of what anything costs when it comes to travel. They're still set 20 years in the past. I'm thinking they can fly over the pond to Africa, whatever, for a couple $100. I mean, flying is just a big part of the cost just to get there, and there's ways around that. But just kind of give somebody an idea. And I realize there's a million different directions we can go when it comes to planning an adventure with you. Whether you want the deluxe, whether you want the luxury, how many days, are we just going, there's 4 people in the group, or there are 10 people. So a lot of that comes into play. But let's just say for maybe a family of 4 that's wanting to stay at a deluxe, you don't have to give me specific numbers, but give me just a general starting point. And again, this would not include air insurance. So this would just be once they're on the ground with you.
Yeah. And firstly, to tie off when it comes to the pricing, we take care of everything in destination. So the second you touch down in Kenya to the second you take off, everything's included with us for one price, so we're taking care of all your accommodations, all your private transportation, any domestic flights within the country we take care of, all your meals, activities, safaris, park fees are all included. Now, as you mentioned, Trey, there's a lot of variables that come in when it comes to pricing: time of the year, length of trip, where we're taking you to, how many people that's in your group, whether you're doing a deluxe 4-star or luxury 5-star. But if you're looking at like a family of 4, let's just say mid-range of like shoulder season, you could probably budget anywhere from, again, a lot of variables play in, maybe $7,000 to $10,000 per person, just depending on, again, what's involved into the itinerary, if that makes sense. So whether you're there for 10 days and you're doing majority on safaris. Well, when you're on safaris, properties cost a lot more staying at lodges and camps inside the national parks than you would in the city because they're in remote areas.
Sure,
There's
sure.
not grocery stores and other restaurants down the street that people could just walk to and be able to see. So you're paying for the properties, you're paying for having the vehicle and the guides at your disposal for those days, as well as the park fees. So it just depends. Again, if you're in the city the entire time, you could do that for a lot less expense. But if you're mainly on safari, or we're doing more of a driving or a flying compared to a driving safari, those expenses could add up. So we like to say the sweet spot for a really good, maybe family of 4, 10 days on a really robust custom itinerary for a deluxe package, sweet spot could be anywhere from 7 to 10,000 per person.
Okay, that gives you a good idea. And obviously the sky's the limit, like you said, because we saw some beautiful luxury properties, and, the luxury, certainly there's a reason why they're called luxury, but you talk about, I could see those luxury properties that we toured, and I'll probably show some photos during this video. But some of those you could really, if you're even looking for having just a wellness trip, which means you just want to go spend a little time doing a game drive in the morning and come back and just literally resting all afternoon and just, kind of recharging your body. Some great properties that we toured around that's great for that. And just, some that I just would want to sit on the front porch of the tent that you had and just take in the lakes and the views and the mountains that we saw. It was just absolutely beautiful. So continuing on talking on the planning topic here, is Kenya the only destination that SKYIN currently works with?
It is not. So we actually specialize in 2 countries as of right now. Kenya as well as Uganda. So both Kenya and Uganda reside on the eastern side of Africa. Kenya is along the Indian Ocean. So Kenya does have oceanfront. It is, on the Indian Ocean, while Uganda is a neighboring country, but Uganda is landlocked. However, there's the biggest lake of all of Africa, which is Lake Victoria, connects Kenya, Tanzania, as well as Uganda all together. Now, the difference between Kenya gives you the indigenous culture. They give you that traditional out of Africa type of safaris. They have the exotic beaches. Uganda is a little bit different. Uganda is a tropical rainforest, and that's where you're going to be able to spot the chimpanzees and the gorillas. You're able to do boat safaris. You're able to do rhino tracking. So it's a very adventurous country. So is Kenya too, but it's more of a tropical rainforest, while Kenya tends to be a little bit more of the open savannas. But in Uganda, you could still have your traditional safaris where you go and find elephants and giraffes and lions and leopards, but you particularly go to Uganda to be able to do gorilla and chimpanzee trekking. While in Kenya, you have a lot of different monkeys and apes, but not the gorillas and chimpanzees.
And I think one thing to piggyback on that is to also understand, if doing a gorilla trek, this is something that is difficult to get by because of how far you got to book it and the cost of the license and fee. So just for those that are listening, understand you can't just book this several months out.
No.
It's one of those, you need to maximize the amount of time you can to book it to ensure we can get you in there.
And the reason for that is because when it comes to Kenya, when we look at availability, our major goal is to find availability at the properties. We're not really worried about the park fees because there's not really a limit on how many park fees can be purchased per day. But when it comes to Uganda, we have to now not only look at the properties availability, we have to look at the permits, and that's the gorilla permits as well as the chimpanzees. They're very big about the conservation. They're very big about the footprint on how many people can go into the national parks each and every day, and they only have a set amount of permits that they issue every single day per family of gorillas or chimpanzees. So as you mentioned, Trey, not only are we now looking at availability on the properties like we do in Kenya, we're also having to deal with looking at availability for the gorilla permits. So when we do check availability, we have to do side by side to make sure that the properties we're looking at have availability in that sector with the availability of the permits too. So that's why Uganda especially, we like to say at least a year in advance to be able to book that.
Good point there. All right, so this question I've already gotten before since I came back is, and I can talk directly to my clients a little bit about it, but for the sake of the video here, talk about how physical a safari adventure really is. I know you shared with us in destination, but share with the people watching can somebody who's handicapped or have mobility issues, is this only for a younger crowd, or can the older crowd do it? So tell us a little bit how, how physical and what somebody can expect while they're on one of your treks.
Yeah, great question. And the good thing about working with us, Trey, as you know, we don't cookie cutter anything. Before we even design an itinerary, we want to make sure that we fully understand what the travelers are looking for, their conditions, their interests, desires, budgets, of course, but their physical capabilities. Now, when you're on safari, there are many ways you can go on safari. A traditional way is it's on a game drive. That means you're in a 4x4 pop-up Land Cruiser. You have the roof that pops up. When you stand up, you have a 360-degree panoramic view of all what's in front of you. That's your traditional way. So you literally have a very highly trained professional guide who's your driver and guide at the same time. And he's literally helping trekking, looking for the animals. Of course, these guides our guides have 20 plus years. They are very well knowledgeable. They have high certifications on making sure they understand about the terrain, the landscape, the natural habitats of the wildlife as well, but also respecting the wildlife. There's a lot of guides out there that they are there to make the money, and they want to, try to get their clients too close so they can get an extra tip so the clients can get the best pictures, not understanding what harm that's doing for the wildlife itself. Now, when you're on a traditional game drive, there's not a lot of physical activity. It is what it is. You're in a vehicle and you're driving along. But the only downfall about that is that inside the national parks, they are dirt roads. So it's not going to be a smooth paved road the entire time. There are long distance drives. So that's another thing, is that the entire day you're in a car driving around. If you drive from one national park to the other, that could be a 4 to 5 hour drive. Once you get to the national park, you could be looking at going on a game drive for another 3 hours looking for the animals. There's also horseback riding safaris. There's hot air balloon safaris. There's bushwalk safaris. There's hiking, biking, and running type of safaris. So it depends on the level of physical capabilities that the travelers have to be able to dictate what they're looking to get and how they would like to safari, of course. Now, if somebody is, our average clientele, 55 plus. We bring a lot of people that are seniors, that are even seniors. We've had a lot of people we've had people up into their 85 years old, because again, we understand that for them, they may not do a horseback riding safari. They may not do a biking, running or type of safari, but on a game drive, they're very much capable to be in a vehicle. Now, those that say, okay, wow, Skyler, you just mentioned 5 hour drive and then you have to go do a game drive after that. There's always opportunities to fly you from one national park to the other. That does cut down on the long drives. It does cost more money, of course, and it does take away the opportunity to drive through, the local towns and be able to see the local environment, of course. But there are always ways to be able to do that. Now, we also can accommodate disabilities as well. We do have vehicles that we have that are able to suit where if somebody is disabled and is 100% needs to be stuck in a wheelchair, we do have handicapped vehicles that can support them on safari as well. And our team itself, we work with so many variety of different type of clientele, different type of travelers, that we really focus on accommodating any type of traveler that, depending on their special needs, their dietary restrictions. So we really like to say that no challenge, any challenge is no challenge. For us, we love the challenges. We love to learn how we can accomplish that. Back in March of this year, we actually had an individual. He joined a group of 16, and this individual, he's in his mid 70s, and he happened to have a stroke 9 years ago. His dream has always been to go to Africa. And when he had the stroke, he felt like he would never be able to travel and do this type of excursion again. And we promised him, he went through, his whole family went on this trip with us, and we promised him we were going to make this go out of our way. And just even, for example, when we took him to our village, this guy, he was not stuck in a wheelchair, but most of the time he it's just hard for him to walk because part of his side is kind of numb and doesn't have the full capability, but he could still walk, get in and out of the vehicle. He was determined to go to one of our villages. And in the village, we actually had someone on a motorbike assist him. So instead of having to walk throughout the village, we put him on a motorbike. And don't get me wrong, we had the driver, we had him, and then we had one of our guides sit on the back to make sure he doesn't come off, to hold him sturdy. But he was able to accomplish going to the village and seeing everything that everybody else did, not worrying about his disabilities and that he couldn't be able to do what everybody else did. So we really go out of our way to make sure that we can accommodate everything. I like to say there's not lots of physical activity. Yes, when you do great ape trekking and you're in Uganda looking for the gorillas and chimpanzees, that's all on foot. That is hiking through deep, lush, thick, tropical rainforest. different type of physical activity. But when you're on a safari in Kenya, depending on what you're looking and how you like to safari, I like to say there's not lots of physical activity, and pretty much almost anybody can be able to go on a safari.
I would have loved to have seen his face when y'all made his dream a reality, because, I've had that opportunity with some of my clients who have had health issues or whatever, but we were able to get them to the destination they want to. And when you get that message, for example, I had a client whose mother had dementia, and it was starting to get the dementia, starting to forget who everybody was, and her dream was to go to Alaska. So we arranged Alaska. When you get that text message from the client that says, "I wish you can see my mama's face. I've not seen her smile like this in a long time." And that to me, that's what makes my job easy and make it worth it, is when you're helping the clients experience things like that and having those all moments and really coming back with memories. And I mean, it's really what travel should be. So really.
And especially like a destination like Africa. 9 out of 10 people I talk to always tell me that Africa is a bucket list dream for them. So for us to be able to, when we jump on a call with the travelers and the clients and we talk to them about curating the most perfect, customized journey for them and their family, a journey that they've been dreaming to do. We recently had a client, this was about 3 weeks ago. He said his dream has been to go to Kenya since he was in 3rd grade. And why? Because his 3rd grade teacher did a lot of humanitarian work and mission work in Kenya, and her entire classroom was all Africa themed. She had pictures of animals, she had pictures of her in the community, so everything was all Kenya. And he said since that day of being in that classroom, he said, I've always wanted to go to Kenya. And he couldn't go earlier, and he's in his 50s now because of money and time-wise and such as all that. But when he finally was able to do it, because he retired, so now he's able to do it, he said we literally was able to fulfill his dreams. And that, to me, like you said, Trey, is the most rewarding thing we can possibly provide someone.
Well, that's awesome. All right, I want to shift a little bit here and go back and talk about one of your hearts, because I know you have a heart for this group, is the Maasai Tribal people. And I will share a photo and some video as you're talking, because I left, it's like when really didn't know what to think, really, honestly, when we were starting to plan this trip, going into a tribal village. I mean, honestly, I thought beforehand, this is going to be kind of hokey. This is going to be all put on. This is all a performance. And I was kind of judgmental, which I try not to be, but I was judgmental going into this and was just blown away about how authentic and how awesome of an experience and really how humbling it was. So tell us about the Maasai people and how you came to get to know them and why they are near and dear to you.
Well, firstly, I want to start off by kind of showing everybody this is what the Maasai look like. And this is a picture of Trey, myself, Chief Joshua, and his younger brother, Frank, who is our head translator. And I keep this on my desk at all times because it reminds me how much this experience not only meant to me, but it means to other people. I've been coming to the Maasai. My Kenyan mother is the one that introduced me to the Maasai. She's not Maasai herself. She's from a different tribe. But she had a really close friend that was a part of this community. And I remember when I was a young boy, they brought me to this community, and because I was all about culture. This is one reason why I wanted to go to Africa, not just for the wildlife, but I really wanted to immerse myself into culture, especially indigenous culture. What makes indigenous culture? We're talking about people that live in mud huts, people that don't have running water, people that don't have electricity, people that their wealth is dependent on their livestock and how much cattle they have. That, to me, is what really makes it an indigenous tribe. And I remember the first times I was going to the village, they were always welcoming. They were always their hospitality, their love, and they just were so accepting. And then as I kept coming to the village every year, they kept being like, who is this guy? He continuously comes back and he makes it feel like he's one of us. And that's one thing that I truly admire about specifically this tribe called the Maasai tribe that are native to both Kenya as well as Tanzania, is that you may not look like them. You may not sound like them. Your life is completely way different than them, but they make you feel like you are one of them. They don't look at you for your skin tone. They don't look at you what you have. They look at you for you. And every single one of our travelers, and we bring handfuls of groups every single month to this community, every client always says they make me feel like I'm their long lost brother and sister. And that is the first feeling I had the first time I ever went to this tribe at a young age, a young boy going into this village. They made me feel like I'm one of them. And that to me is why I fell in love with the Maasai, because I come from a completely different world than them, but I feel like I belong. And I remember when I first started SKYIN, the objective was I wanted to create as many jobs as possible. So I started thinking, okay, how do I create jobs for these communities? And then I started thinking, okay, well, what's the biggest thing that grows the economy in Kenya? Tourism. Lots and lots of tourism comes to Kenya. So I started doing a lot of market research, and any type of cultural experiences, especially with the Maasai tribe, is very canned. It's very commercialized. It's like a 1-hour demonstration where clients, you have a park here sign, you pay an admission fee as you get in, you have a bench you sit down on, you watch performers perform. It's pretty much people jumping up and down and doing this kind of act or demonstration. Sounds like what you kind of thought this was going to be when you first got there, right? But so I started thinking, okay, I have a connection to this village, this community that nobody else has. I am an outsider, but I am one of them. I'm an integral member. They literally look at me like I am one of them. And I also love and how much their culture has completely transformed me. Yeah, it didn't make me come back home in the States and build a mud hut in front of my home, but it gave me appreciation. I accept things, honor, respect things, have a different perspective on life in a whole different fashion. And I knew by me immersing into this culture, what it's done for me, I believed it can transform so many other people as well. But when you go to these pop-up villages, it does more harm than good. It exploits the community, does not give back to the tribe. It is more of an act or a demonstration, and a lot of people get disgusted by it because it doesn't feel truly real or authentic. So then I started talking with the chief, and I started sitting down with the community, and I said, I want to present something to you, and I know that your culture has completely transformed my life, but I want to also provide that to other travelers. But I want to do it in a way that's really going to support you. Right. That's going to create jobs. It's going to empower you. It's going to create resources and opportunities for you. So after a lot of brainstorming and just thinking of what we could put together, we finally came together with this very immersive, completely private, exclusive experience that we are able to provide our travelers, where travelers come into the village and spend the day with the villagers, where they're going to be meet and greet with the chief, be escorted into the village by the chief, then have to shake everyone's hands in the community as a welcoming ceremony. Then you're going to be dressed like villagers. You're going to have a traditional village lunch with the villagers. You're going to learn all the daily tasks and roles of the woman and the warrior. You're going to go down to the watering hole and see what the biggest crisis in their lives are is accessible water, clean, drinkable, accessible water. You get to go up to the church area and see the kids demonstrate and have fun and play games and dance and just show you how happy and joyful these children really are. That's what makes our experience very unique and very different, because again, we're here to really provide an authentic experience, preserve their authenticity of their culture, their traditions and rituals. But most importantly, when travelers come to our village, we are creating so many jobs for the community, and we're really giving back.
Well, and you hit a point, is like they don't see us any different, and they're sitting there. The little kids run up and hold your hand, and it's like it's somebody new. Let me hold their hand and show them around, show them my village. And for the most part, you might have 8-10 people living in a mud hut, 1-room mud hut. They've got the clothes on their back, they got their shelter, and they got each other. So it's faith, family, and their community. And that's all they know, and they don't know different. And they're more blessed for it. And it does make you leave humbled, and they're happy. And to see the kids singing, and they're dirty and stuff, but that didn't bother me. It doesn't bother them. And us handing the candy, or they call the sweets, you thought we were giving $1 million. I mean, it was just the fun thing. And of course, I just laughed taking the selfies, and they want to see their little pictures show up on the phone. So that was cute. But yes, I came back transformed from that day. It was probably one of the most impactful days I've ever had on a trip, and especially with this trip. And so to come back humbled and realizing our problems are very minute when you look at what they're dealing with. And you hit on something I want to talk about, because I know, again, this is also dear to your heart, is the water. The water situation there, I mean, it was awful. And now, obviously, the visitors don't drink this water, but, and I'm going to show a picture here on the screen of their watering hole. And right now, the picture when we took it had a lot of water in it, but sometimes it gets very shallow. But you're seeing muddy, nasty, dirty water that they're drinking out of, that they're bathing with, they're washing their clothes, but also so are the animals. So
So
it's full of disease and bacterias and viruses that their bodies have come accustomed to. But you are working on a project to bring them clean water. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and this is, this is a very dear to my heart project because, again, the biggest crisis for us in the States, we can walk down to a Starbucks, go to a bar, and we can ask for free water, and they have to serve us, right? And for the most part, it tastes good, and we're not going to get sick and, die from it. In that part of the world, the biggest crisis is water. It's safe water. It's a redundant amount of water. It's, these people drink 1 cup a day of water. If I had 1 cup a day, I would be having a migraine every single day from dealing with that. It's also contaminated water. So it's where the water, the cows are, pissing in it and they're walking in it. And also wildlife, exotic wildlife are also drinking from it too. And then not only that, it's taking away the livelihoods of the women and the children, where the children are now having to take away their hours of going to school to go fetch water every single day. It's taking the women away from having to be able to put their time to be able to support a job or to create other income by having to go fetch water for the day. It's also very treacherous on your body to be able to carry and lug this water at a very far fashion distance to be able to just have the water for your community, and having to do that every single day to be able to feed in yourselves and cook with it and clean and bathe and wash your clothes in it. It's a very seems like a very simple thing for us, but it's the biggest thing for them. And I decided to work with a company or to work with the community to put together a water well foundation. Our foundation, we partnered with an association called World Serve International, who specializes in building water wells and the construction of water wells in Eastern Africa. Their headquarters happens to be 1 hour away from our village. So what's really cool about them is they work as our beneficiary. They are a 501c3. So anybody who does donate to our Water Well Foundation, what those funds are going directly into a special account only for the SKYIN Water Well Foundation for Kenya. And they also get a tax write-off because it is a 501c3. So they do get a certificate after they make the donation. Our goal is we're almost halfway there. We do have to reach a mark of $50,000 to be able to raise funds for the water well. I know 50,000 sounds like quite a bit of a lot, but having had multiple companies come down there, all do surveys, all provide me quotes, it all came to be around the same. So we're pretty much almost there. We're about a little over halfway have raised so far. We already have the geographical surveys done. We already have the permits issued. That's what takes the longest time. Now we just got to be able to fundraise and be able to build up the funds for the water well. And as soon as we got that, we can get this built within 2 months of time once we are able to issue that. So just building this water well is going to be able to provide clean, safe, redundant, drinkable water for the community, for the livestock, for their agriculture. But it's also going to open up so much free time for the kids to get proper education, for the women to be able to spend their time putting their efforts towards things that's going to actually bring an income for them. And it's going to make a sustainable impact for the local community.
And I'm going to put a link down in the description too. So anybody that wants to donate, just hit that link and it's all going straight to help fund this water well. We don't get any of that. It's straight to helping the water wells and helping this community in this village. So definitely a great opportunity to help in a very easy way to help. So in a very tangible way. All right, as we're starting to wrap up here, I want to talk real quick, go back to pivoting, talking about SKYIN specifically. Now, as a travel advisor, I want people to come book with me, obviously, part of the reasons we're doing this interview, but can somebody come directly to SKYIN and book with you?
We always promote ourselves and market ourselves to go directly and partner with agents. So Could someone organically come to our website and be able to book directly through us? They could. Common question we always ask is, did you come from an advisor? Who referred you to us? If we find out they came from an advisor, we always want to bring the advisor into the subject. Now, a lot of people think that, oh, wow, well, if I go direct, I'm going to miss take out the advisor. It's going to be cheaper. It's actually the opposite. it's more cost efficient to work with an advisor. Why? Because our goal is to be able to partner with advisors, and we want the advisors to bring their clients to us, so we all work together in a working relationship. Anytime someone does go directly to us, we mark it up more than what the advisor would sell it for. So please note this, guys, loud and clear, that yes, we never market to be able to go directly to the clients, but if you were to find us organically, we would serve you by all means if you did not come from a travel agent. However, if you're looking to save money and be the most cost efficient, you go with an advisor, because they will be the ones to really give you the best rates possible.
That's a good point there. And plus, again, to reiterate, y'all don't handle the air to get them to Africa. Y'all don't handle the travel insurance, which is a must if you're going over to Africa. And so those are things that a travel advisor is going to help with, and other logistics. So certainly use a travel advisor. I'm always promote using a travel advisor when I can. And obviously, I want you to use me if you don't have a travel advisor. All right, so as we close out here, is there anything you want to share that we didn't cover, whether it be about Kenya, SKYIN, or anything? Any last closing remarks?
Yeah, one thing I do want to highlight is that, coming back to what you just mentioned before, when it works with a travel advisor, I don't just mean this and say this just because Trey's right in front of my face, but Trey's an individual who truly cares about the experience for his clients. I work with hundreds of travel advisors, and I know when an advisor is particularly there just to make the money. There's a big difference when you're chasing the money or you're chasing the passion, the fulfillment of providing the ultimate experience. So I always like to say, when you look for an advisor, look for someone who truly cares. Look for someone who goes out of their way to take their time without any obligations to make sure that they are providing the perfect, ultimate, non-cookie cutter type of experience for you in your group, or you and your family or your loved ones. Because especially when it comes to going to a destination like Africa, it's a bucket list destination, and you always want to make sure you're working with an advisor, just like Trey, who truly cares about the quality and the experience. And for me at SKYIN, I look at going to Africa, Kenya, Uganda. I look at 3 separate pillars. And these 3 pillars is kind of the core of why we provide such a personalized experience for our advisors and their clients and their travelers. One is because we all know going to Africa is expensive, okay? It is one of the most expensive experiences you guys can do on this planet, aside from like an Antarctica expedition. It's well known to be expensive because of you're going to such remote areas. Now, when you go to Africa, it's not like Europe where you could just wing it on your own and, hey, I'm going to book this hotel and book this taxi and go to this cafe and just, piecemeal everything together. You got to go with a game plan. You got to go with people that know the destination, not just for the foreseen, but most importantly, the unforeseen. What if something happens? What if you forget your toothbrush and you need assistance to go to the local market? What if you forget your passport in the safe at your property and you're already at the next destination 5 hours away? What if you happen to get a tummy ache and you need some assistance to help assist you? That's why working with an on-the-ground team that's supporting you before, during, and after your excursion is so, so important, because, of course, you don't want to put in this huge investment and something go wrong and then it ruins everything. Secondly, it's your lives in our hands. We all know going to Africa, there's a lot of concerns, there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of unknowns. And there's a lot of unknowns where people associate Africa as an entire country. Africa is a continent. There's so many different countries made up. So what you hear is that's going on in Western Africa, like Nigeria or South Africa, does not mean it's impacting or affecting Kenya, and vice versa, okay? So it's really good to make sure that you are with the right credible team that's supporting you to make sure that your safety is #1 priority. And last but not least, the third pillar is because Africa is a bucket list dream for people. My goal and my team's goal is not to just meet your expectations, but to overly exceed it. Because to me, going to Africa is not just a check off your list, once in a lifetime trip. I'm just going to take photos and bring back souvenirs and put them on my wall. It's a life-changing journey. Mm-hmm. This is why here at SKYIN, you will never hear us say that we sell trips. We don't sell vacations. We don't sell sightseeing tours. We specialize in immersive journeys, journeys that are going to, and our tagline is travels that touch the soul. because when you go to Africa, the wildlife, I mean, sitting under in your vehicle, looking and gazing off into the distance, seeing a lioness grooming her cubs under an acacia tree, going to a baby elephant orphanage, getting up close to them and learning about the conservation, how they rescue, rehabilitate, reintroduce the wild back into the wildlife, going to a homestay and being able just to feel welcomed into their home, into a culture so different than their own, but make them feel like you're one of them. That's why Africa, and I say Africa as a whole, because so many countries in Africa always provide this experience for people. It's life-changing. So there's a common saying that it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. When people come back, they're saying, nope, it's not going to be once in a lifetime, because it's impacted me so much. It's touched me, my soul, my heart in so many different ways that I know I want to go back, and I know I want to share that with other friends and family. So again, here at SKYIN, working with us, partnering with Trey, we are here to provide you guys the ultimate journey across Kenya or Uganda, and to provide you guys such a life-changing experience.
Well, thank you. And I can attest that, there's not many travel companies out there that I get very excited and passionate for like I have with SKYIN, because I've been with you on this trip. I've met your team. Your team, even if you were not there, I genuinely feel like your team would have taken 110% care of us regardless. They were amazing. You've got an amazing guide, and I'm gonna show his picture here. He probably laugh if I did, but Michael's been in the business as a guide for nearly 40 years. He's been with you since day one of your company. Everybody knows Michael there. In every park we went to, he knew exactly where to take us. He knew who to talk to so we could complete seeing the Big Five. I mean, just Michael, he would have given us the shirt off his back if we had asked for it. Man, it was incredible. Joy, your Kenyan sister there, sweet. Loved having her with us. She finally caught on to some of our crazy humor and stuff. But, you have an amazing team. You have a team you should be proud of. I have no problem putting my name and brand behind SKYIN. So anybody that wants to talk to me further, here's a link to the video that from my recent trip that I'd love to share. But again, I would love to share more about SKYIN if somebody out there has questions or even looking to take this type of trip. So Skyler, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got a lot of people you're working to help get over to Kenya over the coming months, and I appreciate you. I love what you're doing. I love your company. Loved every moment of our adventure, and I can't thank you enough for introducing me to the African experience.